Back with us on the SportsMax zone. As they were in Game 1 of this Eastern Conference semifinals series, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were too much for Milwaukee Bucks in Game 2 on Monday, engineering a blowout win for the Nets, 125-86. This was the worst beating inflicted upon the Bucks this season, with Giannis and his team trailing by as many as 49 points at one point. Durant had 32 points and Irving 22 before both went to the bench early. 12 of the 13 players used by the Nets scored in double digits. The series shifts to Milwaukee with the Bucks 2-0 down.
Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks trying to even their series against Kevin Durant and the Nets. Game 2 in Brooklyn. First quarter, Kyrie Irving from the top of the key, but watch Blake Griffin from the right side flies in and throws it down on the follow. KD versus Giannis, what a great one-on-one postseason matchup. Durant crosses up the Greek Freak, hits the jumper, he's fouled, three-point play, watch again. KD creating his own shots. Giannis trying to step up defensively. Kyrie Irving drives. The Greek Freak comes in, swoops in with the huge block. Look at him go up and pin it against the backboard. But Kyrie stops and creates his own shot. Complete control on the floor. And then Durant to beat the buzzer at the end of the first. The three-pointer, 36-19 Brooklyn after one. They end the first on a 23-9 run. Second quarter, Blake Griffin, a catch-and-shoot three. The lead is 22. Great passing by the Nets. KD, Bruce Brown. It's Griffin again. They lead 65-41, complete control at the half. Third quarter, KD in complete control, using the screen to get free for three. And then, into the lane. The runner, good. More from Kevin Durant. Final seconds of the third. Through the entire defense, reverse lay-in. Nets by 30, KD had 32. Everything working for Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving stops, top of the key, three-pointer, nails it. Brooklyn dominates Game 2, the final, 125-86. The Nets lead the series 2-0.
Now, Giannis was understandably downbeat after the game.
You know, we got to figure out what we got to do to stop that, you know, and stop. We can't stop it. Make that stuff as possible. Try to show more bodies. I think, like, a lot when we switch, like, guys get in the island and he can play one-on-one. He feels comfortable and he's getting his rhythm, dribble, and he can get to a spot. And after that, you can block the shot. So just got to do a better job, just, you know, showing more body, showing more hands, and try to just make that stuff as possible for him. But at the end of the day, I've said it before that, you know, he's Kevin Durant. He's one of the best scorers in the league. Like, he's supposed to do this.
Giannis. Well, the Phoenix Suns have drawn first blood against the Denver Nuggets in their Western Conference semifinals, taking Game 1 122-105. Bahamian-born center DeAndre Ayton was solid, putting up 20 points and 10 rebounds, as he more than held his own in his matchup with the man some are touting as the season MVP, Nikola Jokic. Joining us to talk about Ayton's performance is St. Lucia-born British actor, writer, and basketball analyst, Alister. Alister, is it Albert or Albert?
You could use either one. It's Albert, though.
Albert. I could use either one. I like that. All right. The Suns' big man, DeAndre Ayton, a young man just the same. He pushed hard with the Suns last year in the bubble, but they fell short of playoff standard. They came back this season with CP3 in tow, and they've looked like a completely different team. Ayton has been manful in these playoffs so far, and last night he showed that Jokic is going to have to play very, very well to get the better of him. So I asked, through your eyes, how well are the Suns and their Bahamian center trending so far?
I think they've acquitted themselves really, really good. And I think for DeAndre Ayton, he's shown that, you know, he's growing like really, really quickly. He's been thrown into the fire into these playoffs for the first time in his career. And he's showing that, you know, he can be a man amongst boys. In the last series against the Lakers, he was able to, you know, dominate and hold his position against Anthony Davis and the bigs from Los Angeles. And he's doing the same right now with the Denver Nuggets. And Nikola Jokic, of course, he's rightfully one of the MVP front runners for the Denver Nuggets, but he's been able to, outpace him and get to the rim runs, alley-oops, and body his way in, box out, and kind of get rebounds and give his team a chance at second chance baskets and scoring. So, he's acquitted himself really well, and the Caribbean island of Bahamas should be really proud.
Alister, make a comment on the impact you see CP3 having from your vantage, watching him with a Suns team that many accepted, had a youthful leader in Devin Booker and a youthful sidekick in DeAndre Ayton, but needed something. That something seems to be Chris Paul.
It definitely is. Chris Paul and Jay Crowder, I kind of put them as a package deal in that regard. But to your question about Chris Paul, he's come in and shown that he's the leader that he always was, from Wake Forest when he was in college, when he came over to the New Orleans Hornets and drafted there, when he moved over to the Clippers. He was that guy to bring stability and to manage the game in a way that's like an extension of the coach on the court. So CP3 has brought this level of stability that, I think is really useful for a young team, that cannot just rely on Devin Booker to do everything. Because once the defense is load up on Devin Booker, that's kind of it. He could get his points, but he needs someone to kind of facilitate the ball to him. And Chris Paul has been able to do that and take the coaching tactics from Monty Williams and apply them on the court. And they're being able to just kind of run away with it. So CP3, to me, he was my MVP for the season. I'm really disappointed that the NBA didn't have him as a finalist for the MVP this year. But, I think he's showing his MVP caliber in these playoffs, averaging just 9 points and 8 rebounds a game. But he's showing that he's very valuable to the Suns team.
Alister, I was talking to a group of friends over the weekend, and we were saying that we haven't seen a decent Suns team since that one that had Kevin Johnson, Sir Charles, and Danny Ainge. That was high school in the 90s. That's how long the Suns haven't been decent. For those Suns fans who are coming out of the woodwork now from this side of the world, do they dare dream that this team has the constituent parts to go even further in these playoffs this year?
I think they can. I think they've done probably people would have probably thought it was impossible for them to beat the defending champion Lakers in the last round, and they were able to pull it off rather easily. Of course, it was contributed to by the injury by Anthony Davis, him not playing the whole series as strongly as he could. But I think, this team is well put together. They have a floor general, like we said, Chris Paul. Devin Booker as the second superstar on this team, who has been getting his respect, and earning his respect in the league, now becoming an all-star, in 2 consecutive seasons and proving himself, averaging 29 points a game in these playoffs. And he's showing that he's really good. And you have DeAndre Ayton and role players like Mikal Bridges and Cameron Payne, Frank Kaminsky, all these guys coming off the bench. They've kind of been a really good team that show that, they're cohesive and they could work together. So they could do that. But let's not go so far back to Kevin Johnson and Charles Barkley. In 2009, Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire and the guys in 2009, they were able to get to the Western Conference Finals, then losing to the Lakers 4-2. But, that's the furthest the Suns have been since 2009. So CP3, he's never been to a Western Conference Finals, and I think now is his chance to show that he could get there with this young, talented team.
The reason we settled on the Ainge, Kevin Johnson's, Charles Barkley team, Alister, was the fact that you saw that team coming, and that team was a contender perennially. That Nash team, it just happened for them. So we're looking back at when the Suns were of a quality that compelled you to watch them and to look out for them season after season, rather than the 2009, which happened, but you never got the impression that this was a team with the guns to shoot down the big guys and win the whole thing. I say that to ask you this now, though. When you look at the fact that Phoenix, their path to the Larry O'Brien Trophy will take them past some big teams, some big reputations, individuals. And I'm talking about the Brooklyn Nets with the big 3, of course, provided James Harden gets back fit in time and provided they get there. LA Clippers are still there, Kawhi and Paul George and the company. The NBA doesn't quite do upsets like major championships around the world. I mean, we came close at the Miami Heat in the bubble last year. Is it conceivable, Alister, that the stars and everything else could align? The Suns, NBA champions 2020, 2021. Doesn't sound right to me. Do you think it can happen?
It doesn't sound right to me, but when you consider the teams remaining in these playoffs are teams that have either won 30 years ago or they have never been to the finals or won a championship at all. It is a season of upsets. I think the new champion who's going to be crowned this year is going to be some team that we haven't seen for a while holding the Larry Bryant Trophy. So, I think the Suns have a really good chance, and it doesn't sound right, but none of the teams left in this playoff sound right as the champions. Could you imagine the Clippers winning? We don't know. The Brooklyn Nets, it sounds really weird. But these teams, we could see them from the preseason coming. The Suns, like we've been talking about, they've proven themselves in the bubble last year, going 8-0. They had this momentum, and then they bring in Chris Paul and Jay Crowder. And, they've just gelled, and they've used Monty Williams' X's and O's and just kind of shown that they're ready to take it to the next level. So they can do it. But this is all dependent on health as well. Chris Paul is a perennial injury-prone player as well in the playoffs, and he's been known to kind of end up with season-ending surgeries in the playoffs. So season-ending injuries, in the playoffs. So if he can maintain his health and keep this momentum that he is right now, I don't see why not. They could actually make it to the finals and maybe give the Nets some trouble. I wouldn't say they will win, but they'll give them some trouble.
Yeah. Pigs fly and all right. So what about the Brooklyn Nets now? Because I remember close to the end of the regular season, Alister, there was a game between the Bucks and the Nets. Giannis really lorded it over KD and the company. And I said to myself, he may have just woken up the sleeping dragon. Perhaps it is if they meet in the playoffs, as they were always set to do, then there could be something motivating the Brooklyn big boys to really want to put Giannis in his place. And after the first 2 games this season, Alister, you would say that KD and Kyrie especially are attacking this game with extra motivation, wanting to show that you are coming up, Giannis, but we are already up and you won't get up on our shoulders. You won't use us as a step ladder on your way up.
Definitely, the Brooklyn Nets have been remarkable, but it's like you said earlier on, the NBA doesn't really do upsets very well. And when we saw this team get put together, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden, when he came in from the trade from Houston, you kind of just knew this team would go far and they would be a hell of a matchup for anyone they played. Kyrie Irving, even at one point during the season, said, it's too easy. They lost the game to, I think it was the Knicks or someone, and he said, we need this adversity going into the playoffs because everything else is too easy. Playing the Detroit Pistons and the Sacramento Kings, we win in these games too easy. So we could see that this team was going to be a juggernaut from the start of the season. And, I think they have the tools to go all the way. Kevin Durant is like a cheat code. He just came up from a Achilles injury. And, he's playing like he never left the game. There's no rust. He's averaging 32 points per game in this playoff so far, which is 4th best in the league so far, and averaging 34 this series against Giannis and the Bucks. So, the guy is back. I don't think we need to worry about him and his skill. But once they stay healthy and James Harden comes back, I don't think there's going to be any roadblocks for them in the East.
Yeah, and a little bit more on the Nets, Alister. The fact is, I remember when I was it may have been Chicago, where Joe Harris won the 3-point contest. My producer will tell me which city it was, or it may have been Los Angeles when he won. And some of the foreign media covering it was LA, yeah. When some of the foreign media covering the 3-point shootout, Alister, they were saying, Joe who? From where? Because they're wondering, who's this guy? We must not gloss over how important his impact has been supporting the 3-headed monster, or 2, whichever 2 of the 3 they have fit. Guys like him continue to excel and will ensure that the Brooklyn Nets are so much more than the individual pieces that Steve Nash has been given to mold into a team. Alister, are you there? Whoa, the line went bad, the line went potty just at that moment. But yeah, Lance, as we lost the connection with Alister, as ever, with big teams, and you know this very well from so many different sports.
Yeah.
It's not the superstars only, because they alone, they by themselves, they hug all the glory and hug all the limelight, and people talk about them ad nauseum on occasion. But it's also about the other guys, those guys with critical roles to play, who almost never have a bad game. And they're talking about guys like Joe Harris, an old guy like old relatively speaking, Blake Griffin, who has been reduced, diminished by injuries and looks rejuvenated. It's all about the role players and how they support the big names, is the point I'm making.
Yeah, and in sports that have bigger rosters like football, George, that's why people talk about depth and strength of your bench, because a season is pretty long. So you are right that the impact players need some support. They need other factors in their setup to supplement the overall, strength of the team. And, that is part of the reason why in most NBA championship teams, the superstar or two superstars need real quality help from the others.
And as we break, look at how well Rajon Rondo played for the Lakers last year.
Yeah.
He was crucial in helping them win that championship. So it may be that the Lakers managed to unlock qualities in Rajon Rondo that, of course, were there from his championship season with the Celtics, but which had been fleeting between the Celtics' golden period and now. But the quality of the leadership of LeBron James helped him to consistently deliver close to his optimum. He left the Lakers. He went to the Hawks, I believe, Rajon Rondo, and he's looked washed up. And you wonder, well, how come? I thought he would have been washed up, which is why I wasn't fancying the Lakers last year, because I'm saying Rondo is finished. The man was a man reborn.
Well, I know some Rondo fans who think that the Lakers wouldn't have won the championship.
But they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have, Lance. That's the point I'm making. But he's gone to a new team, different vibes, and he's just rubbish again.
Can we say, though, that for the two NBA games that would be on SportsMax and SportsMax 2 tonight, the Utah Jazz LA Clippers game in the Western Conference, game 1 there, scheduled to go off at about 9:30, George, because the Brazil-Paraguay South American World Cup qualifier will probably run a few minutes into that. So we'll join that in progress. And then on SportsMax 2, it's the Hawks taking the 1-0 lead on the 76ers in the East. That match comes up 6:30, 7:30 Eastern Caribbean time. So an NBA double on SportsMax and SportsMax 2 tonight.
And I know our producer is kidding us, but I have to say this. The communications supremo at the Bank of Jamaica was just asking me about the South American World Cup qualifiers. And I'm telling them that, yes, they're on the home of champions, Toni Morrison.